I wanted to switch things up for this week's upload. I tried to continue the Pocket Cat video, but the script is still a mess. So, racking my brain to think of another video, I had an idea for a 10 facts you didn't know about Fear and Hunger 2 video. However, some of them were so small that I figured 25 things that you may have missed would be better. Some of these you may have heard of, some of these you haven't. But let's make a bet. If you didn't know at least one of these, you have to like the video and subscribe. If you learn nothing, you can dislike the video and comment, "Pugzer, I'm smarter than you, I hate you." Something kind of fun about this video, I went into this video only knowing number 1 on this list. The rest of these I had to scour the game's wiki for. I'm also going to break them up into groups because some things are very similar to others. So I hope you learn at least something. Let's get into it. If you go into the basement of the woodsman's house and use the rare sigil in the summoning circle, you can go into his realm. Here you can find the human form of Black Caleb. You probably know this. However, Caleb will ask you a question. Do you believe in darkness? You have the option to say, I believe in a thing called love. This is a reference to the band The Darkness, who has a one-hit wonder song called I Believe in a Thing Called Love. A very famous song. This is also the only thing I caught and didn't see about anywhere, so this is the one fact that inspired this video. Diary of a Madman is the name of the journal in the white mold apartments used to figure out the washer puzzle. Diary of a Madman is a reference to an old RPG Maker game that Miro liked. I originally thought it was a reference to the Ozzy Osbourne song, Diary of a Madman, which is my favorite Ozzy Osbourne song. It is, however, possible that the old RPG Maker game is a reference to that song. So, at most, it is a reference to a reference of an Ozzy Osbourne song. Possibly. This is more of a Fear and Hunger 1 thing, but whatever. Lagarde's new god name is the King in Yellow. This is a reference to the book of short stories called The Yellow King by Robert Chambers. In this book, the entity the Yellow King is a sort of eldritch entity that makes people go insane. Think similar to Cthulhu, so that's what inspired his name. In the fight with the human form of Henrik, if you cut off one of his arms, he will reference a famous Monty Python line saying, "'Tis but a flesh wound." The mechanical dance has a pyramid head hidden in her art. Here, take a look. I've mentioned this in other videos, but I figured I'd throw it in here. Have you ever thought that some of the villagers in the slums in Old Town look kind of grotesquely familiar? Well, every single one of them is based on a Francis Bacon painting, who is my favorite original artist. Here, take a look at them all. Scouring many bookcases, you may get a piece of literature called The Man in the Dreams Flyer. This is a reference to an old ARG on the internet called Have You Seen This Man? To make a long ARG short, these flyers were in a bunch of main cities across the globe with just this guy's face on it, and it just says that thousands of people dream of this person every night, despite no one even knowing who he is. I believe this was an ARG to promote a movie, but I don't know for sure. It's a pretty famous ARG though. Now we transition into lore I found by reading literally every single dialogue possible between every character in every area of the game. However, with that, we're going to kind of still stick to a pop culture reference with this one. Here's a thing you may have missed. Marina is a time traveler? No, I'm just joking. But there are some modern day jokes Marina will make. She will say, "Feels bad man," which is a very popular Twitch emote that some people will say out loud. Another one, for the price of one entry, is Marina will reference the vampires sparkling in Donovan's house. This is a clear reference to Twilight. In the center of Pre-Evil, Marco will say the dialogue, I'm gonna butcher this, "Uni persi I scarpi u signun," meaning where God lost his shoes, basically saying that this town is in the middle of nowhere. This is a Sicilian saying, which makes sense because Marco is pretty much Italian, or whatever Fear and Hunger's equivalent of Italian is. He's from the Vatican, so pretty much. Have you ever wondered what those pulsating sacks in the Mirror's house are? Because I sure did. I didn't even know if there was any lore until I started researching for this video. However, if you have Osa in your party, he will say it's pure darkness. What you see outside is people tainted by the light of the moon. Pure darkness can taint people in the same way. So it's possible these may have something to do with the former god of the depths, or the god of fear and hunger perhaps. As we have stated in other videos, the god of the depths has the same power to twist people like Rare. Like look at the Crow Mauler. Speaking of Osa, if you bring him to Pre-Evil Bob, he will say that despite him hating most of Western civilization, he loves clubs. Now let's talk about some lore tidbits you may have missed. You may have found the NLU documents, but your character probably said you don't have the means to read these right now. However, if you're playing Isabella, a known NLU associate, she can read these documents. I'll let you go read those for yourself though. Everybody knows that Dan Moonscorch is into Pocket Cat. But did you know that the models change based on which Pocket Cat it is? The original Pocket Cat has these big boots and normal pants, but if Dan is moon scorched into Pocket Cat, he has his signature checkered pants on. Normally in Fear and Hunger, you don't just jump down stuff willy-nilly. If you've played these games at all, there's a good chance you die just because Curity got the best of you and you jumped in a toilet. However, did you know that in this game, it can actually make your game a little bit easier? If you jump down the Woodsman's well right off the bat, Tanaka will try to save you. The Woodsman will then kill Tanaka, and then strangely, he will throw down the rope for you himself, and then become non-hostile. If you don't interact with him too much after, he will continue to be non-hostile. We all know of Vile, right? The pig mask guy that you can kill by just talking to him? Well, something I didn't know is that he is some sort of chimera-looking thing. He has hooves, for some reason, in addition to that pig mask. There's a couple possibilities why he has hooves. He could be a marriage, which would mean he had sex with a pig. He could also have had his feet sewn together with pig hooves by stitches. Or he could be some sort of Venushka follower. Or he could just be moon-scorched. Who knows? Did you know that you can make decrepit priests non-hostile? If you have the Persuade skill and a rusty pearl from Rare's realm and give it to him, he will become non-hostile. Why? I don't know. It could be a play on indulgences by the Catholic Church in the past. Because if you didn't know, in the past the Catholic Church used to accept monetary donations for sin forgiveness. I have a double entry for this one because alone either one of these doesn't really warrant a place on their own. The first one is a pretty well-known fact, but it is more than likely that Lagarde is a revived blood golem-like entity. As in Darcy's S ending in the first game, she revives him into a blood golem-like entity through a forbidden spell. Then if you use the Rot spell on him in the boss battle with Kaiser, who is Lagarde, he will revert to this blood golem-like form. Then after you beat him, he fades into the ground and escapes. However, did you know that Marina's father may also be one of these beings? As when Samari kills him, he also fades into the ground. So is it possible that Marina's father is also a person that was revived by someone in the same way that Lagarde was? If you stay in the shop long enough in Old Town, the bandaged shopkeeper will begin to beat his baby on the counter. This isn't lore, but it's kind of funny, so. If you find the crossword puzzle that Tanaka was working on and zoom in on the picture, the crossword will say, "Morning has gold in its mouth." A German saying that basically means rise and grind, as the kids would say nowadays, which fits his characters and his Moonscourge form. As you probably know, there are different types of souls in Fear and Hunger. However, did you know that it may be based on when you were born? Kind of like astrology. Oh, you did? Well, did you know that we know the dates for 3 of the soul types, perhaps? Well, the suffocated soul you get when you're born between November 14th and 7th, probably. As Henrik says, he is a Sagittarius in a former build of the game, which would place him between those dates. The shadowed soul is between the dates December 8th and 31st. We know this because Olivia's birthday is on the 31st of December. And then the radiating soul is between January 1st and 24th, probably. If you're wondering why it's specifically 24 days, it's because if you split up all the different souls types, you would get that each one has to be 24 days as the year only has 365 days. Or 366 in this year's case. I wonder what my soul type would be. I was born on May 6th, so I wonder. This is all great, and this is what people usually say. However, it's possible this is all conjecture. However, it is possible that Pav's birthday is on Christmas, as Miro said on Twitter. And he is the chaotic soul. So it's possible the dates change with the years. It's a whole rabbit hole you could get down. If you didn't know, Shambhala, the Tormented One, is based on the Cenobites in my favorite horror movie, Hellraiser. However, when you hear the screams of his work in the department store, if you ask Dan, he will say that the screams may be of pain or pleasure. So that's even more ties to the Cenobites. If you examine the decrepit priest's head after sawing it off, the description will say, "There's still something lingering in the head." Whatever that means. Does that mean there's some magic left in the head, or does that mean there is literally something in the head, like a worm or something? You all probably know that Father Hugo is a really bad person, the head of the orphanage. If you poke around, it's pretty obvious that he's a very bad person with, the chains and all that, but he may be worse than you think. In a previous version, when he takes his clothes off, there's a child's head on him, pretty much meaning he has had a marriage with a child, which gives a whole new depth to his depravity. We all know that the sulfur cultists have half their faces painted blue. However, as someone in the comments pointed out to me in one of my videos, the scarabs in Fear and Hunger 1 also have this. Is this a coincidence, or are the scarabs in Mahabharata somehow connected to the sulfur in the sulfur cult? And for the final thing, another thing that was pointed out in the comments to me, ironically, the janitor in the beginning of the game is more than likely the same person that wrote the Diary of the Madman Journal. the same guy who sacrificed all the people in the White Mold Apartments, as this was the janitor of the White Mold Apartments, and as we know, the janitor was related to the Sulfur Cult, which the janitor in the intro also has had his face painted half blue, which is a Sulfur Cult thing. And with that, we are done. Bonus thing! Apparently, Caligura wanted to be a race car driver when growing up, according to Mir on Twitter. What does that mean or imply? I don't know, but perhaps he wouldn't be such a scumbag if he was a better driver. And with that, we are done. I thank you all for watching this video, and remember our bet at the beginning. I love you all, and see ya.